Hey everyone, welcome to the Tune Up, a Shop Monkey podcast where we talk about the automotive industry and car care, specifically 99% of the car's life that's spent outside of the dealership. We're here at SEMA having some of our first live conversations in person with the team and some special guests this year, starting with Bob Morreale.
Morreale. That was better
Thank
than
you, Bob.
the previous three.
Bob Morreale.
Yes. You get a fist bump. Come on.
Yeah, you can.
You can't leave me hanging. Welcome to the podcast. No fist bump. How about you? Boom. I got the tone. I'm out. See you guys.
You know what? We're going to take it. No, we're going to embrace this. We're 2 takes in. Bob Morreale.
You got it, man.
Yeah.
President of the Tuning School.
It's a lot of title, but I also scrub toilets. You know? Keep that in mind.
Don't be fooled.
Do not be fooled by the long sleeves, you know.
Bob, thanks so much for joining us today.
Of course, yeah.
Before we get into the hot take and the main topic, tell us a little bit about yourselves. Tell us what's the Tuning School, where are you located, how long you been in the industry?
Cool.
Yeah.
So, the Tuning School's pretty close to Tampa, Florida. We teach all over the country and really all over the world. So we go, whether it's Australia, Middle East, or all over the United States. We do a lot of classes in person. A lot of fun. Our goal is to have fun and educate through the process.
Nice.
And we always say tuning is a process that you can learn. So if you have a passion, maybe it's a GM or Ford or Dodge, or I don't care what it is. It's an engine, which is an air pump. We'll teach you how to tune that using the right process. And anybody can learn it. I've had guys and girls in classes from, I think, maybe 16 years old up to like 140. It's what they looked like. But but even the old dudes that they're like, how do you open this laptop? Like, it's going to be a long couple days.
What is a laptop?
You know?
Second question, how do I open it?
His name was Moses, and he did great, and it was a tablet. So there's that.
Nice.
Sorry, it was bad humor there. But I'm a dad, so I got dad jokes.
Yeah,
Hey, dad
real
jokes
far
are
in the past.
acceptable here.
My dad
They
jokes
roll.
usually at the @AOL email.
At AOL. There you go. If it works, yeah. But no, it's online. It's learn at home courses. It's in person. We have a master tuning experience, which is about a year old now, and it's been phenomenal.
You guys have
Nice.
a fantastic website.
Thank
You
you.
guys do a really good job
Yeah,
advertising
appreciate
this.
that.
Before the Tuning School, though,
Yeah.
what were you doing before the Tuning School?
Oof, I was a nerd forever, man. I was programming in 2nd grade. I did tech support for AOL in like the late 90s. And when you had to like dial up modems.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
People
that's
would call.
ingrained in our memories.
Oh, I do not want those
30-day free
memories.
trial.
On the CD.
Yeah, you have to see, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't they come
it's
in
like,
cereal
woo.
boxes at
Yeah,
one point?
I don't know. Maybe they
If there was a box, they found a way to put it in
get
there.
online. I don't know. Let me tell you, that was a rough job. The rest of the jobs I love, but there's always that one dude who's like, I can't get online. I'm like, seriously? I know this is not on topic, but we had one person did call one time, and I took her tech support call, and I'm like, so, is this working? No. Is this working? No. Because we had a whole tech support thing we're supposed to follow to see
Right.
why you couldn't get online. Finally, I'm like, just tell me what it says on your screen, because the answer was no.
I got a side bet going on what's about
Oh,
to
you
happen.
know what's about to
Yeah.
And she's like, the monitor's off. I'm like, why are we on the phone right now? This is who should not be online. Why is the
I'm
monitor
sorry.
off?
We're gonna have to
Power's
revo-
out.
We're going to have to revoke your AOL access. I'm
seriously.
sorry.
I quit shortly thereafter. So, and then I went on to teach people how to tune, which might be regrettably harder than that.
Yeah.
But
Just a little bit.
it's a little bit, but most people get it. It just takes a little time. So we always tell people, go home and practice what you learned. It's just a process.
Yeah.
And just whatever you're passionate about, start with that. I don't care if it's your old Chevy pickup truck. It does not matter. You're the process in which you tune a fire-breathing dragon of a car isn't any different than the process for your old pickup truck. If it's their old GMs, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
The values are different. Maybe it needs more fuel or less spark.
Yeah.
Or the torque controls are a little different. But the thing is our job is to give you a process to follow and not leave you hanging. Because if we got to get you over keyboard anxiety.
Yeah.
You get this new tuning software, and you're like, oh, what do I do? There's 8,000 tables. What do I do? That's a lot.
Well, how did you cross that threshold from like, I'm a nerd,
Yeah.
I also like cars.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
There's a girl
tinker.
involved in this story.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah, there's
Like all great stories.
all great stories. She turned out to be my wife, so it worked out great. Like, woo.
This wasn't starting out in that
Yeah.
direction.
Yeah.
So that's
Yes.
good. That's a good thing.
They always go sideways in some kind of.
She was the one who had the monitor up. No, I'm just
No.
kidding.
She's got to watch
I'm
this.
just
You
kidding.
can back that up.
I'm so sorry.
Oh,
We're
we're keeping that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're keeping
we're
that.
cutting that out later, I believe. Yeah, that was the deal. No, but like I had, my first car was a 72 Mustang, 302 carbureted, and I rebuilt that so I could drive it. You know, I couldn't. It literally didn't drive when I bought it. It was like a $500 beater. So I rebuilt that, got it running, and then when I got to college, I had been programming for years. I just started in BASIC, and this is like the mid to late '80s. And,
Nice.
And then in the '90s, I was in college, and so I met Mandy, and so her dad had a Buick Grand National. And at the time, you know, I think in the mid '90s, that was running 13s in the quarter miles pretty quick. And he's like, that's gonna whoop your Mustang's butt. And I'm like, nah, what could it possibly do? Like, you know. And I took a ride, and I'm like, wow, he's not wrong. You know, he's not wrong. But he was an engineer, and he's like, look, I want to go faster, but it's very methodical. Like his process was, we're not adding more power until we get traction. Once we get traction, we can add more power. But he's like, I don't want to reverse engineer the computer, and nobody would sell chips back then. I mean, let me rephrase that. You could buy a chip, a mail order $300 performance chip. But when I mean nobody would sell it, they wouldn't teach you
what to do with it.
You can plug it in, you're supposed to go faster. Thing is you'd buy it, you plug it in, your car might detonate and blow up. You're not going faster. And you know, I mean,
what you might call a dice roll.
You might go faster for like a couple seconds until that happens.
Yes. But and then you're like, my parts were enough to go 10s, you know, and we're running 13s or 12s. And you're like, what's going on? All my buddies in the Grand National community, same problems. And so we figured out, like, it's really just a software issue. It's in the tune.
Yeah.
And so nobody would teach me. And because nobody would teach me, I got frustrated by that. And I'm like, I'm going to figure this out because I'm a computer nerd. Okay. So we started reversing out the computer, the EEPROM in the Grand National way back when. And when I looked at it, I'm like, oh no, this is a new language to learn. It's in hex. And there's nobody telling you, like, okay, all this hex stuff, you can kind of see patterns to it. Yeah. And you can understand that's probably a Spark table. Like once you understand kind of where things are, that's from there is where it gets translated to a graphical interface, which is the software of today. Yeah. And so we started making, courses for people. And I'm like, these guys just need to learn how to use it. Yeah. Because they'd come over and they'd see it, and it was in a graphical format by then that anybody could understand. This is not hex. It's a Spark table. It's clear. Yeah. And then we came up with a tuning process, and it really caught on like mid-2000, like 05 to 07, back when HP tuners started picking up. Yeah. And, their thing was they made great software, but also the industry was very immature. It was the wild, wild west is the way I would describe it. Most people bought it just like they'd buy any tuning software. And if you look at it, you're like, oh, this is literally Greek to me. I don't know what all these tables mean. If I change this, does it blow that up? Like, what's going to happen here? And so we started with the tuning school, and I was teaching it. I learned how to do it all in the mid to late 90s. And then I started teaching it in the early 2000s. We formed the tuning school in 08, and then we focused on it really ever since. And it takes all your focus, because like today we could be current. Tomorrow a new Corvette can come out. Yeah. And that's going to act and think. The computers think in certain different ways. Yeah. And our job is to look at that and go, well, how is it thinking? Right. And then we can teach you a process for how to tune it.
So there's a good bit of research on your guys' end
It's
today.
a year. It's a year on an average new car release for us after they've unlocked it. Yeah. Because like the thing is you can't just go write a process, hand it over, and be like, yeah, I think this will work. That's not going to fly. Yeah. So when you test it, you have to buy the car. You have to modify the car like the average guy is going to do. Yeah. You got to test it. And then you go, does my process work? And so internally, we have a lot of checks and balances. And then at the end, we have to be really careful, because I've been doing this for like 20 years, right? Yeah. So if I write a paragraph on how this works and I hand it to you and you've never tuned before, you're going to be like, I don't know how to make mac and cheese from this. Like, this is not making sense to me.
Well, so do the OEs play ball with you more, or are you still reverse engineering everything?
So that's the software company's job, right? Like an HP Tuners or an SCT or whoever you're working with. Their job is they'll grab the ECMs, they'll figure out how the chips are working, they'll get the data, and then they'll present us with the graphical interfaces that we need to understand what's going on.
They're the door.
They're the tool.
You're the door opener.
Yeah. They're literally a tool. I like to think of them as the tool. They build a tool, right? Yeah. And then our job is to be the bridge from, the software to the engine. Okay. Because you can be an engine guy and I can be a software guy, and we could never succeed. Sure. But unless you have that bridge, the software guy has to understand how an engine works. Most people in the tuning world or performance world, they're engine people. They know how an engine works, right? Yeah.
They're either or, right?
Either or. It's an A-B thing. And so that's why we were like, okay, so if I'm the average customer and I could, understand how an engine works, but I don't know anything about the software or tuning, how can I make that something they can easily understand? So when we finish out a course, not only did one of us research it and figure it out, but it goes through people who are not professional tuners.
Yeah.
The first person was my wife. Actually,
Is that like like the QA process?
That's the Q&A process, and that's
That's
what I meant.
awesome.
It started with her dad's Grand National, and once I figured all that out,
I only
worked
blew it
through
up 3 times.
It's over.
Yeah.
No, that's what it worked out to be. And still, a lot of times we'll have people like her go look at the process that we come up with as the tuners to go, if this was a bolt-ons car, could you follow this? Do you understand what these paragraphs mean? Are they too technical?
Yeah.
What does this mean? A lot of times I'll just write it and it comes out of my head and it makes sense.
Yeah.
But if you never tuned before, you're like, I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
Describe it better or simplify it. And the rule internally is like, hey, if I can't explain it simply, efficiently to like a 5th grader level, then we're not doing it. Or either we don't understand it well enough or we haven't explained it well enough.
Right.
Yeah.
So that the average consumer can go, I can tune with this. And,
That's awesome.
and then they buy the software, and then their job is to figure out how their bolt-ons or heads cam or force induction car operates, and that's what the processes are that we provide. So whatever you work with, there's a process for that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And there's a couple points in there that we're going to tie into the topic, culture and the next generation.
Yeah.
We're going to jump into that, but I do have a quick question for the group. We've been here at SEMA, 3 days now? About how long have you been here now?
3 days or so.
3 days or so?
Yeah.
Favorite car you've seen walking the show, on the strip maybe somewhere? It cannot be an E60 M5.
Come on. How did you know?
I have my sources,
Are
Bob.
you following my bank account? Because that's where it goes. Oh. What'd you spend last year in
Wait, did
maintenance?
he really just nail your car?
He got it.
What?
I'm sure Brett totally.
Oh,
we're not going to pull
All
Brett
right,
into
all
this.
He had to because he's watched my pain. It's like a heart pain. It's
Brett's famous enough.
palpitations.
Don't mention him on the podcast.
oh my
That's
God.
a good choice, man.
Yeah.
High-riding V8's always the right way to go.
I'm
I know.
telling you.
Oh, wait,
I
no,
know.
it's not a
I'm telling
V8.
you. No, it's a V10.
V10.
5-liter V10.
V10.
Great
Yeah.
car until it's not.
Yeah.
Great car. You just gotta take the engine out and do rod bearing.
Best car I've ever owned until you
Until
do
it's not.
everything.
Yeah.
Until
It
it's not.
revs to 8 until then, right?
And it may still after. It's just going to make terrible noises.
Yeah.
It's just-
It goes over to 13 now.
she spins up real free. I don't know. I'm just saying.
Clickety clackety. Makes me happy.
you know.
Yeah.
So outside of that, anything that really caught your eye this year?
So I'm going to cheat.
Oh,
Because
okay, that's
I just,
fair.
I just literally about 2 hours ago came from the announcement of the best engineered vehicle at SEMA. yeah.
You got
So it was an award
inside
that-
track.
Yeah, it's an award that was just given out, and it's I think it's a 70 Chevelle. It's the Dynamat I think booth.
Oh, I saw it
It's pretty.
with the flares
Yes,
that are molded
yes,
into the body with the
yes.
airflow.
Oh man,
It's
nice.
beautiful. I'll show you guys later.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah,
beautiful
yeah.
We
car.
got to talk to the dudes that built it, and the story was.
I'll be right back.
Yeah, I'm just saying, if you listen to what these guys say, you will feel like such an underachiever in life. Okay, because
Let's not go there. Then.
no, right? Like, they're not sitting around doing a
I'm
podcast.
still going.
Whoa, no. He messes up your name 4 times, and all of a sudden we're
Listen,
bad
it's
guys.
guilt by association, bro. I'm just saying. It's
I dragged you guys into this. I'm sorry.
sorry, man. These dudes didn't know each other more than like a year ago, and they didn't. They're not engineers. One guy, I think he didn't finish high school, and they literally just all happen to have like a common.
Floor.
Yeah.
It happens. So yeah, these dudes didn't have. I don't think they even knew each other prior to like a year and a half ago, something like that. I just overheard their story.
Wow, that's wild.
They all had specialties. One guy's doing CAD drawing. They drew the whole car in CAD. They scanned it.
I believe it.
And they literally 3D printed stuff and things and made it all, metal 3D printing. Like, you normally go to school for like years to understand all this stuff, and they just picked it up because they liked the Chevelle, I think.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, they won the best engineered vehicle here. You know,
Wow.
like, they earned it.
It literally stopped us
Incredible.
in our tracks when we were walking.
Wow.
Zach and I were walking by,
Wow.
and I was like, I have to see that.
Yeah.
You see a lot of great body kits, bolted on and whatnot, and it's a work of art. But it was just the roll cage in the back
Cage
window, the
itself.
way it was built, it was just fantastic. I got to take you guys.
Yeah.
We'll go check it out.
You
after
got to see
this.
it.
You
Yeah.
said 3D printed metal. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a metal
The
3D printing technology
Yeah.
that they've worked with and apparently outsourced some of the printing, but they did all of the legwork, and it's just really impressive to see that level of engineering
Wow.
at a show like this. It's just, I mean, and to do it in probably 16 months.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know
Wild.
for sure. It could be a year, 16 months. I don't know. But I don't think it was longer.
Yeah.
This time.
Yeah. I'm like, wow. This dude did it, man.
That is awesome.
It's
That's
impressive.
That is
So
awesome.
that's my favorite thing here.
All right.
Yeah.
That's a fantastic answer.
I cheated.
Little
but,
cheating, but
I
it's
did.
okay.
I did.
Mike, I know you've had the least time,
I mean,
but
obviously I've had a limited scope since
How many
I've been
built
here.
cars have you seen at Apex?
I haven't really seen much there. I already brought up Larry Chin's R34. I've been following that since before we came out
build.
here, and
Yeah.
it's just, it's we were talking about Fast and Furious earlier too, right? I mean, that's just like that's my generation, my car, and to see somebody put so much time and energy and love into something like that,
Yeah.
it's great. You can only appreciate it in person.
Yeah.
Nice.
No, that's a great answer, John.
Let's see. I haven't seen it yet, so I don't think I can use it as my answer. But I'm really hyped to go see the CRX that one of our other guests was talking about. So I'm going to actually pick, weirdly enough, the Harley flat track bagger. That's like a race, the big boy race Harley that's over here by the Rockford Fosgate booth. I think was like just super cool to see those big bikes get turned into like oval track race bikes, and you're like, you guys are wild. I love it.
I'm having a hard time imagining what that even
like
looks
imagine you're the biggest like bagger Harley, but with slicks. I was like, that looks like
still not there. No,
Mike's like again.
Hey, real quick, honorable mention though is because like the mini truck scene seems to be coming back, and I'm kind of excited about that. I was never a mini truck size guy, but I still appreciate
I'm not a mini anything guy.
Mini Cooper maybe. I don't know. But I think it's in the Toyota booth. It's just the most pink little Toyota taco you've ever seen.
Yeah.
And it's set up for a drift rig, man. And it's just
There you go.
wild and
Very
creative and just not something I've seen before.
Yeah.
Cool.
And for me, it was I guess a little bit of a cheating, or I guess I'm just super impressed by what Toyota's doing. But that Celica build, or the GR86 build that they
That's
did.
what it is, yeah.
It's just been I caught onto it a little late. I guess they've been building it for a little bit, and there was a whole YouTube following for it. And once I caught onto it, I was like, I have to see this in person. And the lights in front, the way they incorporated everything into that build is just the wing.
Yeah.
That needs to go into production. Whoever's listening, that has to go into production.
Is it a bookshelf? I haven't seen it yet.
Grand
Just a humble podcast.
Yeah,
You better do it.
Awesome. Automotive culture and the next generation, Bob. Based on your experiences running the tuning school, and how long would you say you've been in the industry total now, if you had to guesstimate?
Over 20 years.
Over 20 years.
Yeah.
Would you say that the tuning school is helping shape the next generation of service writers, technicians in a sense, or just, enthusiasts and folks who want to be in this industry? Are you seeing let's call it an influx of interest in folks who want to work in this space?
Sure.
Due to, work that you're doing or adjacent work that's happening because of what you guys are involved in?
So I see a lot of bleed over, actually, especially in the last year and a half. The performance side, when you look at the future, people get confused or concerned because they go, oh, it's all going to go electric, right? Oh, and I can't touch it and I can't modify it or whatever. There's been a huge shift in the last couple months from the electric side of they had this momentum going to really grindingly slow.
Yeah.
Like you could just feel the momentum shift just kind of ground to a halt.
Watch the car lots pile up.
And they're piling up now.
I'm getting a lot of emails. We will pay you
a lot
to
of
take this
emails.
car.
Yeah, it's a thing, right? And people are worried about all the future of it. And the tech isn't quite there yet for that to take over the world.
Yeah.
But as far as future tech goes, I also just came from a talk we did with ETTN, which the SEMA is Emerging Trends and Technologies Network.
Okay.
And, we did a lunch and learn. We had some guys up there talking about the fact that internal combustion isn't going away. And the thing is there's alternative fuels that will meet the requirements that people are putting forth, and it's a matter of infrastructure being built out. And so people go, you can't run hydrogen. Hydrogen, I believe, is the most plentiful element in the universe. So that as a fuel source alone is very, very promising.
Yeah.
That we still get to keep our rumbling and our V8s, and it literally makes very little or no pollution. So
potentially retrofit.
Yeah, that's the
Potential retrofit,
And that was what one of the topics of our talk was, is that the technology is now catching up to that point where you don't have to have a fuel cell. You could literally just burn the hydrogen in a traditional internal combustion engine.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so there will be retrofit kits that will come out to support that in the future. And I think that's where the combustion engine will ultimately head.
Right.
But the future is bright. There's no reason to say that you're not going to be able to do donuts or send it sideways and go drifting.
Well, even EVs do some really cool burnouts.
They do. They definitely do. But they're kind of odd on the noise side.
Yeah,
So, whatever.
But then there's
so do golf carts.
I have a long-standing gripe with like EV noise because I actually think EVs sound pretty cool when you let them sound like what they are.
Yes.
So they spend OEs spend a lot of time like hiding the noise it makes.
Yeah.
I got to drive the again back to the Harley Davidson, the live wire concept bike before it came out, and it screamed like a TIE fighter when you were on it, and I was like, this is actually really cool. I
Pretty
enjoyed
rad.
it, but it's because it sounded like those motors sound, right?
Yep.
Instead of but same goes for ice engines with they're trying to hide every noise and
Right.
shake.
Sure.
It's like
Or
actually it
the
sounds.
sound pumped in through the speakers now.
Come on.
Yeah.
The Ionic-
Wrong room.
Ionic 5N though, Ionic 5N. They
Cool.
did a great job. We've
Yeah.
talked about it. We've
Yeah.
talked about it in prior
We're not
episodes,
going
but
down here.
that is a cool concept on that. I was just gonna bring up one last one though. The International Scout, the one that was just
Okay.
announced,
Yeah.
Okay.
with the extended range or the what do they call
They
it?
call it the Harvester. So it's
The Harvester.
uh,
Yes, thank you.
It's a lot like the, and I'm kind of speaking from my pocket.
It's like a range
These
extender.
just came out, yeah. So
Yeah.
forgive me to be a little wrong, but kind of like the old the BMW i3s, where
Mm.
you have the EV drivetrain, but then you have almost a generator ICE motor. that-
Three-cylinder generator.
Yeah, instead
Yeah.
of instead of actually powering the vehicle, it's recharging as you're driving.
Sure.
So, yeah.
The Volt works that way, I believe.
Oh,
the Chevy
nice.
Volt.
Oh, it does it
yeah.
as well.
Yeah, it does.
Oh.
They just occasionally burn down. Hey, it was a recall. That's not out of line.
Small
Okay?
issue.
That was a recall. I don't want Chevy calling. I actually love Chevy. Love you guys. I have a Corvette. I've got a C6. I drive a C8 sometimes.
Oh, okay.
So I love Chevrolet. I'm just messing around on the EV side of things. But
Hey, we all make mistakes.
it's okay. It's okay. It's all good.
But you're saying so with the bleed over, you think there's a kind of a new
Yeah.
line of interest of
Yeah.
folks wanting to and get their hands on this,
Yeah, well, actually, it's interesting because I think that the bleed over goes from the performance side into the maintenance side.
right?
Yeah.
To where guys
Yep.
are doing, whether it's maintenance or rebuilds or transmissions, we're seeing a lot of people who own what you would traditionally not associate as a performance shop,
Yeah.
Mhm.
who are actually starting to realize the tools we've built for the performance side really helps your
Sure.
repair side.
Oh,
Because,
interesting.
You know, if I go and teach, and we do this routinely now, a class of guys guys and girls who will go, well, I own a repair shop or a transmission shop, and my scan tool selection isn't all that great, right? There's nothing wrong with what they're using, but they're trained to use what we would consider very rudimentary, basic tools.
Yeah.
If you apply what we have advancements in from the performance side, just in the scanner alone, you could detect so many problems and greatly increase your throughput.
Yeah.
So a transmission shop or an engine shop, you know, you're diagnosing a misfire, your traditional tools will get you there.
Yeah.
They'll get you
Yeah.
there.
There's a
But-
world where a master tuner is also a master
Technician,
diagnostics guy.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. We
Yeah.
have a shop that went through 6 transmissions, and it's not necessarily their fault. The truth is they didn't really have the background knowledge to understand what was going on.
Okay.
Right.
And the thing was, had they had the tools, the scanners from what we would call on the performance side, when they were diagnosing this basically stock vehicle, but went through 6 rebuilt transmissions.
Wow.
And they kept saying the transmission is failing after 100 miles. Every one of them. And you can't tell me that 6 transmissions after, we're all doing the same thing. Something
Yeah.
else is at play here.
Yeah.
And ultimately, it
Six
turned
has been
out,
too far down the rabbit hole. There.
yeah, right? Like, how? It's-
Mike's like, what about 4? Where,
Yeah, maybe
where,
four.
Where did we land at 3?
if we can settle on 3 as a reasonable
Yeah,
number,
yeah,
okay.
cast doubt
Groundhog's
on
Day in the parts department. They're like, are you sure, man?
you fried another
No
one?
one's going to call this person out.
You mishandled this when you delivered it, all right?
Yeah, right? Like it was not crated properly? Like, how did this thing? You
I
can't
have
be that
so
bad.
many more questions. I'm going to stop.
No, I'll answer them with one answer. Had they had the right scanning equipment and understood what to look for in the right order,
Right.
they would have known the mass airflow sensor was dirty. How does that fry a transmission? It does. You know why? Because when it's dirty, the way that sensor works, it's the first in line for that computer to calculate how much airflow is coming in. What people don't think about from that is if the amount of airflow calculated is wrong,
Yeah.
the torque calculations are wrong. So
Yeah.
it says I'm only making 100 foot-pounds at full throttle. But the truth is it's actually making like 300 foot-pounds.
Yeah.
And so the transmission shift pressures aren't as high as they should be.
Oh,
Therefore, clutches get fried.
Wow.
And then
Wow.
transmission number 2 goes back, and transmission number 3 goes back. And ultimately had that shop, who is nothing wrong with that shop.
Right.
Really nothing wrong with them. They're just not yet trained at that level of understanding because diagnostics and troubleshooting with the tools they currently have don't really, I'm not saying you couldn't, but the ones I've seen don't really have that ability to drill down and mix and match and get all of your stuff in order so you could look at it from a diagnostic perspective and go,
Yeah.
if my airflow is wrong, everything else behind it is wrong.
Right. It's
Yeah.
going to follow
Everything
incorrectly.
follows.
So selfishly, I'm going to go left on our question.
No, go
for
it. Go for it.
We'll get back to straight tuning, but I ran a general repair and maintenance shop. We also did a lot of performance, so
Yep.
we built spec race cars for like NASA endurance and stuff like that. But do you see an opportunity as like maybe a shop owner or manager to put your team through the type of training that can level them up as an opportunity for a higher return on the business when we think about parts waste or just wasted time or things like that, where we put a little more investment in the beginning of getting some specialist training
Sure.
that pays off in the long run?
100%. If I owned a regular maintenance shop, not just a performance shop, I would invest in the equipment's relatively inexpensive.
Yeah.
Typically, like HP tuner stuff, I mean, you can be in it for less than $500-600.
Oh, wow.
And you've got a very powerful scanner that'll work on a ton of different brands. It could be imports, it could be domestics, and you get more than SAE PIDs, which are fine. But if you really want to know what's going on, you got to be able to understand that the scanner is set up in a certain way.
Yeah.
The channels that you're going to data log are here, but how do you know how do you know how that works?
Yeah.
And that's where we come in. But
Yeah.
the thing is the average shop could spend a couple days with their staff and then go, hey, who's the best here with this? Who is really soaking this up? And go, oh, I get it. And we can teach you. Once you get those channels, you're diagnosing a misfire condition.
Okay.
This is what you need to data log. And then from there, the charts are over here, or the graphs are over here, and it looks like a doctor's chart at a hospital.
Yeah.
You see the heartbeat?
Yeah.
It's the same thing, but then you start to look, and what we teach in classes is good. We call it good tuners look for trends.
Okay.
And it's not necessarily even that you're a tuner. Maybe you're a good diagnostician, but the point is look for trends. So if you understand what it should be, you can see it on the chart. You say, well, my mass airflow sensor is like half what it ought to be.
Okay.
Therefore, everything else here is out of line,
Yeah.
and I'm going to fry a transmission. But you have to know that to get there, and you got to have the tool to get you to that point.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, it's like a long chain reaction,
Yeah.
But if you don't start, if the average shop doesn't go, I want to change how it's working.
Right.
Like we have this saying, what got you here won't get you there.
Yeah.
So if you want to double your throughput, you got to change something.
Yeah.
Get some better software, get some better education, and then that will literally pay dividends.
Yeah.
Because now you're doubling your throughput in whatever that is.
We were talking about earlier, a little bit of curiosity will go a long way.
Oh, yeah.
In terms of, hey, maybe is there another route I could be taking here? And what's the impact to my final result based on that curiosity that I
Your
apply?
bottom line, 100%. Yeah.
What about an individual on the opposite end of the spectrum? Maybe like I'm interested in the performance side of things. I don't know anything about cars yet. I haven't gotten into the industry yet, but I know that I want to learn how to tune because I think that's going to get my foot in the door to where I want to go.
Sure.
What would be just a good introduction into the shop for somebody that goes down that path?
And
What do
if
you
I
mean?
may,
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll just stack on top of that. Do we feel like social media is helping in playing a role in getting maybe interest from those folks who, to Mike's point, aren't maybe not car people right now?
Yeah,
but
maybe they don't know. I mean, you have background in programming. I guess it's
Yep.
probably
Yeah.
a safe assumption.
Nerds,
You were a background in cars beforehand too,
100%.
so you just bridge those two gaps. There's probably some people out there that are really talented at this sort of thing that just don't know that they're interested in it yet. So, if most of us probably start, changing oil or doing something like that, and then move into diagnostics and performance.
Yep.
What about somebody coming in that we want to entice them to start out tuning and bring
I'm
in
more
that performance?
programming inclined, but now
Yes.
I can lean
Right.
into cars.
Yeah, for sure. I think it all goes back to, like you said, the desire. Like, where is that? Where does that land?
Yeah.
Do they want to do the maintenance? Do they want to do the performance side? And if so, do they want to go faster?
Sure.
Maybe they want to drive faster, or maybe they
Mike's
want
eyes lit up.
Yes.
I want to go fast.
Everybody wants to go
Are we
faster.
just polling for faster?
We lost Mike earlier to an LS swap. He was gone. I
That's how
could
it
not
goes,
find him.
I ask guys in class. We always do introductions. I just want to know when I'm teaching a class, who's my audience? Like, who y'all paid to be here? Who am I teaching to?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so and the answer is always universal though. Like, it may be said in different ways, but the answer is always universal. It's like, I just want to go faster. Like at a basic level, we're all there. We get it.
We're simple creatures.
We're
all right?
simple creatures. We want to go
You
faster.
sound like my people.
Yeah.
You sound like my people want to go faster. That's it. It's the bottom line. So I don't know. I look for the enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Nice.
And if they're like, I love Camaros, cool. Then what we need to do is introduce you to how a Camaro operates and how you can go faster. So we're going to the drag strip.
Yeah.
And then from there, we're going to go and do some launch practices. Or from there, we're going to teach you, then we're going to data log it while you do this.
Yeah.
And when we go home, to see if it sparks an interest. Because culturally, in the early 2000s, it was easy to get people to want to be a tuner. Because it was all over. It was Fast and Furious movies, and tuning things was just it was a thing. It was just like I got to tune it. I got a Huffy, I need to tune it. That's cultural. And the next generation culture, I think, they've changed a little bit. But I think what I've learned is they're not lost. Like some people talk badly about the next generation. I don't.
There's a lot to consume.
It's a lot to consume, and those guys and girls that are there are just as talented or more than we were at their age.
Yeah.
Because they've been exposed since they were 5.
Yeah.
And
sure.
the fact that they can do this and understand what it's saying in such a quick, concise manner.
Yeah.
Some of the best tuners we have are younger, and the thing is I'm going to say this: girls are great at tuning.
Yeah.
And I know that like that's a hard thing for a lot of people to understand, but the truth is, when we teach women are generally less likely to object to what we're trying to explain.
Sure. Okay.
Less stubborn, and what they'll do is kind of absorb it and go practice it, and then they'll call
That's
back
awesome.
and they'll go, I just need a little more help in this. But the whole point is the whole next generation, if you just get their interest sparked, it's under there. Like it's there.
Yeah.
They just were almost robbed.
Yeah.
When I grew up, it was expected that you would work on a car.
Yeah.
As a dude, and as some women, like you're expected to be able to change a tire, change your oil. That was an expectation. These folks have grown up without that, and they've been robbed of that.
Right.
And so if you just kind of peel back the onion a little bit and just expose them to a little bit of speed or a little bit of this or that, I'm just saying, not the drug, but the actual acceleration.
We're on the same page.
we were there. We were there.
I don't know if we need to clarify. I don't know the group all that well, but I'm just saying.
I'm new here.
I'm the new guy.
Wait, stop pointing at me, Bob.
I know. Like,
That's like the
going on
third time.
it's the other Italian guy in the room.
I'm way too heavy to
Yeah,
do
sorry.
this.
You're doing great.
Oh. But
I just want to say,
go for
I
it.
agree. I agree with your sentiment. It was tough. Like I always wanted to do more work on cars, and like where I lived, you literally get a ticket if you started changing your oil. But we didn't have garages or anything, and like so. I love that you're building this pipeline.
Did you say you got a ticket for changing your oil?
You couldn't work on your car like
On the street.
Oh,
Yeah.
Got it. Got it.
I was having a hard time.
For
Yeah, I
most
just
of my
needed
life,
to-
I
got
didn't
it.
live.
I grew up
live
in
anywhere
sticks, so
with
I didn't know that.
For most of my life, I didn't live anywhere with a garage, so we had street
Ah.
parking. So I love that you're building a pipeline for people to find.
Yeah, it's
also
awesome.
super cool. Just into it, yeah.
I just like to see the passion. It's the next generation for the industry, right?
Yeah.
And so the passion's there. I'm just saying they don't know it.
Right.
They just need to know and take them for a ride. Get them to experience a hard 1, 2, 3, 4 in a manual transmission car.
Oh, it's a good time.
They're going like, what just happened? Oh, that was the 150 shot. That's what happened. I'm just saying. Sometimes it's all it takes.
Yeah.
Your team recently, maybe not recently, over the last few years, started dabbling in more YouTube content, right? I think you have some content on YouTube.
We do.
Do you also participate in Instagram, Facebook, the main social channels?
Yeah. You'll find
Has it helped? Has it kind of been neutral?
It's been an interesting ride.
Okay.
So we started on YouTube back in 2012.
Okay, early.
It's been a long time.
Yeah.
Back then, what we noticed was we could put out a 20-minute video, and it would get great views, like 30,000 views, like great views. And it wasn't hard to get the view, and it just happened. And it took us a while. It was kind of painful. We realized the attention spans were shrinking.
Yeah.
Sure.
To where now, if you put a video out on any platform, it has to be within the first 2 seconds. Like if I'm on Instagram or even Facebook,
clips, shorts,
Reels, shorts, whatever it is, think about it. Your attention span now is within 2 seconds. If you don't see something that you key into, that's it.
Yeah.
And it's a cycle. So everything we try and start with has to have some kind of like a catch. Like, do you want to see how this car, this new C8, blah, 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 blah. It's got to have some kind of a, pop, bang, boom.
Yeah.
Something has to go on
Yeah.
to get. Yeah. But the YouTube videos are still 5, maybe 10 minutes, but they're way shorter than they used to be. And we also did an experiment. It's kind of wild. About a year ago, we did an experiment at a trade show.
Wait, a bunch of tuners didn't experiment.
Yeah, go figure, right? Because we're bored. We're so bored that we're doing social media experiments, right? And we're shooting the same video twice, 2 different styles. One with a dude with a suit and tie, production, and that thing got, I think, 1,000 views.
Yeah.
We did the exact same one with a cell phone.
Yeah.
And a wireless microphone.
Yeah.
I think it got like 200,000 views. And you're like,
Wow.
what just happened here? Because the production quality that we're used to, that we strived since 2012 to buy the best equipment, to get the best cameras, to get the best angles, that went out the door. And we found out people just aren't into that, cut and dry looking, that produced video.
Yeah. I recently got back to a little bit of photography and come to find out storing photos just because of how Instagram, Facebook, how they render down the quality of the photos. There's a lost passion for having the full quality uploaded somewhere, and other platforms like Flickr and whatnot are having a harder time keeping audiences that want that that extra next level of quality for that. And so it's I don't want to say it's dying off, but they're having a harder time keeping the audience that they've historically had, which lines up with what you're saying from 2012.
It's interesting to think about too, because like coming up in the shop, I didn't really have any resources outside of the shop to really tap into, and now people have this, social media style vlogging, where someone can actually see the day of the life of somebody versus this hyper polished, little snippet where you can clearly tell like this isn't a real person. I'm looking at an actor. Seeing that vlog style, you kind of watch them rough through it, and you kind of like, okay, I can relate. I can actually, make some mistakes and try it out. And
can I relate to this person I'm watching?
Yeah.
That's what it
Day
comes
in the
back
life
to.
of a tuner. That'd be
cool to see it, but there's a lot of Advil, boxes of tissues,
a lot of speed.
A lot of speed. Just saying. It's the one day you're like, I just wasted 8 hours. Okay, I'm going home.
All right. We
It's
tried.
that one day. You're like, I'm done. I'm going to take a break now.
Well, it's a good segue, though. But you're asking really good questions, Mike, because it's talking about how do we get those folks interested. Let's flip, though, to business owners, shop owners, right? What would be maybe a piece of advice that you would share with business owners that are in this line of work in terms of repair, tuning, maybe getting into it? What do you do to, try to retain folks in keeping that passion and that interest? Or what do you do to maybe get folks through the door and say, hey, I'd love you to work for me? What piece of advice that you would give a shop owner or a business owner today in the automotive industry that could help?
So in the repair space, I think you have to give people an environment that is more inviting than we're used to seeing. I've been to some dealerships where it's like walking into a 1968 shop. Like I imagine a 68 Mustang rolled in.
Yeah.
That's how it looked, and it wasn't air conditioned. It was hot. There's no fans. It smells bad. The floor is nasty. You're ice skating on coolant.
Yeah.
Those shops, I think the ownerships need to invest in their facility, and that will attract a better group of people willing to work, because like it or not, technicians have higher expectations than they used to.
Oh, yeah?
They're really not loving going to work in a sweaty environment. They're just not. Do you? I don't.
Yeah.
No. That's the thing. And I know it's not necessarily feasible to air condition the whole shop space or something, but
No, you should.
But you should.
You should.
You see? That's my point, man. Like if I'm gonna go work there, I don't want to just be the most uncomfortable, nasty, gross thing that walks out the door every day. But I want, and I've seen this more, people want to take pride in what they're doing.
Yeah.
And because they're no longer the traditional description of a parts changer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they're no longer that, they have to have a level of self-respect and a level of knowledge that is almost computer-like.
Yeah.
Of this is the Volvo that came in today, I've got to fix, but maybe it's not the alternator, maybe it's the regulator.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that guy doesn't want to work in a dump.
So
That girl doesn't want to work in a dump.
I had an interesting conversation yesterday with a shop owner that was talking about them losing a technician, and great tech.
Yep.
They went off to, and this is a performance shop. They actually do tuning and many other things. And they lost a technician to a OEM. Won't name the OEM. They had an off-site dealership garage where they were pretty much dropping engines, swapping engines back in. And so reached out back out to this technician and says, hey, I'd love to bring you back. We're expanding. Would offer you X, Y, and Z.
Yep.
And the tech says, well, no, it's cushy. I get to just, I know the process. It's engine in, engine out, engine in, engine out. And that's what I do 40, 50 hours a week. And he had worked for this performance shop before that. There was maybe too much unknown, maybe too much variety. And said, yeah, I kind of prefer this. And it seemed like based on this conversation I had that they were bumping into a little bit more of this of like, hey, that we'd like that one process. We want to just do that one job. Yeah. It almost sounds like from a tuning aspect, there is something there to say, hey, become a good tuner. You can do this day in, day out, 40, 50, 60 hours a week if you'd like to, and have a fulfilling career.
We had a shop in Florida last week that did an extra $6,000 in revenue, and they're a performance tuning shop, but they didn't get it from performance tuning. It's because they understood performance tuning. and they were able to get diagnostics that dealerships can't fix.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was amazing, and I watched and like how, like wow. So I didn't, I knew it was an opportunity.
Yep.
But I didn't know it was that big an opportunity because there's
Yeah.
such a lack of qualified people that can do diagnostics right now.
Yeah.
That's just where it's led, and so people can get into the tuning side, and for the passion that they have, it'll satisfy that because they're working on performance cars. But for revenue purposes as well, they can do, hey, your regulator's bad, and
Yeah.
by the way, that's an extra $300. Thank you. Have a good day. And they don't even have to get dirty. They can just tell them what the problem was, and it works. But as far as to answer your question on the performance shop side, I always tell shop owners, specialize.
Yeah.
So what are you passionate about? If it's GM's, great. You're a GM shop. You don't do everything.
Yeah.
You don't take Fords and Dodges and Nissans and whatever. You will never make money if you don't specialize. And number two is because you specialize, build packages. And what that does for the average performance shop is, if you're the technician, like you said, I'm not doing an unknown eBay, camshaft or this customer brought this thing in from
You're
I don't know.
reinventing the wheel every single day.
And this package is different from that. That Camaro that just left is 100% different than the one that just rolled in.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You will never make money, and the tuning aspect, it will frustrate you.
Yep.
Because now you're a research and development tuner,
Yeah.
as opposed to I know what package. This is the 500 horsepower package.
Yeah.
This is the 600. This is the 700.
Love it.
We use these fuel injectors. We always use these fuel injectors for this package.
Yeah.
And when I go and build my tune and that thing goes in the dyno, I can spend less than 2 hours and it's nailed. I don't have unknowns of is it a quirk of this cam that we just tried out of the blue, or is it something I screwed up? But people wanting to make good money and enjoy what they do and be passionate about it, ultimately they have to do that.
Yeah.
And making those packages is a part of the equation. The other half of it is when a good performance shop is doing volume, I think they have to get those packages tested. And that's where a lot of the what do you call it, falls off the wagon. The wheels fall off the wagon.
Right.
The thing is, if you have a shop and you're doing performance work, you really ought to consider having like SEMA certified do your testing on or reasonable basis testing being done. And it's not that expensive. And the thing is let's say you sell the same packages. What do you care? I mean, you're going to spend $5-10 grand to get it tested, but the proof is in the pudding. Like the thing is now, if anybody ever bothered you and said, how do you know you're not a gross polluter? Which is what tends to happen. The government will tend to show up and they go, just prove to us you're not a gross polluter. You have no idea. How do you answer that question?
Yeah.
Right? And it's a fair question. Well, the answer is I've had all these tests done on these 3 packages that I've done, and I can, here you go. If you have a problem, argue with the test company.
Right.
Wow. I'm good. And then they'll say goodbye, have a good day. That's what, because we see a lot of performance shops in the industry, and some of them get visits, some don't.
Yeah.
And hopefully they never do. But the truth is, we always tell them, if you're a performance shop, you need to have a street side of your performance shop, which is what I described. You don't do everything in your brother, every kind of different cam that comes in the door. You have packages, and I've tested them, and they're good. And the other side of my shop is my race side. And every car that comes in, and I'm not giving legal counsel here. I'm just telling you my input from what I've seen is this.
Turn off the cameras.
Turn off the cameras.
I really want to know.
Definitely not. If you really wanted legal counsel, come to one of the SEMA seminars on it. It's usually on a Thursday afternoon, and the actual lawyers are there, and they'll advise you probably similarly. But the thing is your race side of your shop. A car came in on a trailer. I got a picture. I did whatever I wanted to that car, and it had no license plate, and it was a race car.
Yeah.
And guess what? I did whatever I wanted to it. I didn't test it. I sent it out the door on a trailer.
Yeah.
No license plate. It's absolutely a race car. Here's a picture. Here's my folder of my race cars that I have built and sent out the door. And if anybody ever knocks on your door, you can say, sure, Mr. Whoever, I have 2 sides to my shop.
Yeah.
This is my clean, certified. It goes out the door. It drives on the street. I have proof. This is my race side.
Yeah.
I have proof. And that's what, and again, I'm not legally advising. I'm just saying, like, this is what I've observed has worked well for shops in the industry over a period of 20 years. Because they want to do what they want to do and they want to enjoy it.
There's no way I'm going to let a tee up like that swing by without saying, oh, man, if only you had a great management platform where you could document those photos.
Love it.
Car came in on trailer photos.
Seriously, though.
No, yeah, I was
Seriously.
thinking about it as well. Yeah, you're
Well, no,
absolutely right.
I actually
Pictures,
had a
video, process, and procedures.
Canned services.
I'm
For-
telling you. It
for
works
any
so
reason.
well.
I had a proud to say in 3 years running my shop, I had 1 bar complaint.
Yeah.
Usually it's a huge headache. There's an investigation back and forth. I had all my documentation because of my management platform, printed it out, boom. Candidly, Shop Monkey was that platform.
Yeah.
Printed out all that whole interaction, all my texting, all my photos, all the work records, boom, handed over. We were done in 5 minutes. It was awesome.
That's the way to do it.
But yeah, I love that
Yeah.
systemization and
Yeah.
standardization allow you to be more successful in a lot
Yeah.
of ways.
Cover your butt. Everybody's happy. The customers are happy. You're happy. Your staff's happy. They're not reinventing the wheel every other
Yeah.
week.
Yeah,
And everybody gets to go fast.
They get to go fast. They make money doing it. Come on, man.
I love it. I love it.
Nothing wrong with that.
That's perfect.
Well, guys, I think we've coming
That's
up
it.
on time here. Bob.
You might say we went pretty fast.
Dad jokes.
Dad jokes.
Dad jokes.
He's
Yeah.
got dad jokes for days.
Bob, we wanted to thank you for joining us today. This has
Absolutely.
been awesome.
Yeah,
I
had a good
feel
time.
like we could have went down many different tangents,
Yeah,
and I think we've
I
been
have
here
some
for a little
questions when we
longer.
turn this mic off.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
No, gotta go.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
For
sir.
those listening in and maybe hearing about the tuning school for the first time, where can they reach you guys? How can they find you?
Sure. Best way is just go to thetuningschool.com or just give us a call. We're actually friendly people.
I did not get that impression over the last
I'm just-
X minutes.
Culturally, we're
Little
really not friendly at all, right? Like, we have a good time, honestly. We're just car guys, car girls that want to, just help raise up the industry. And if we can help you to become better at whether it's the repair side or the performance side, we just want to do that for you and help you. And there's no pressure with what we do. It's just here's a process, here's a way to do it. We'll meet you where you're at, and there's a budget for everything. So however we can help you get to where you want to be, that's our job.
That's awesome.
And it's a good day when we get to do that. So
Yeah.
thanks.
That's
So
awesome.
cool.
Thanks for being here, brother.
Yeah, absolutely.
We appreciate it.
Glad to
Yeah.
be
Well,
here.
guys, thank you so much. Thank you for tuning into the Tune Up Podcast. Tune in for more episodes in the future, and look forward to seeing everyone again on the next episode. Thanks, everyone.